Welcome to episode 26 of Beyond the Verse Star Citizen podcast. I'm your host, Sulyce. And for today's episode, we are calling it Data Runner. That has everything to do with today's release. This is Thursday, of course. Today's release of Inside Star Citizen, where they introduced a new mission type and a new global event. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I think most listeners, most viewers can probably draw the conclusion on what it has to do with, given the name I just dubbed this podcast. Welcome in. First off, as always, I want to say thank you. I appreciate you bringing me into your place of home, whether you work out, drive. I appreciate everything that you do for this community and obviously your patronage towards the show. Today is a kind of a light show, not a lot happening. So I'll try to make this maybe a more brief podcast. We usually aim for about an hour. We've been going on to hour 15, hour 30 minutes lately. Let's try to aim for like 45 minutes to an hour for this week, as again, there's not that much to cover. We do have CitizenCon updates. We had ticket releases happening on Wednesday, or starting on Wednesday, with a rolling release. Some drama with the after party, and we'll get into that here in a second, but some dates and times being mixed up. Not a big deal at the end of the day. Just add it to your Apple Wallet and you're good to go. But we've got some CitizenCon updates. We have a message from Chris Roberts himself. And I don't want to over glorify like somebody who speaks and all of a sudden we want to slam on the brakes and pretend it's biblical. He had some comments about quality of life. And I think when the owner or the senior lead of this project speaks, we should listen. So we're going to go over the quality of life comments that Chris Roberts made. There was a Galactapedia update where the full-length article deals with Yella, and then we've got 20 short articles. We're not going to read through all 20, but we will do a little bit of an exercise. We'll go into the Starmap and do a virtual deep dive on the two systems that were discussed, and we'll leave it there. We'll talk through Yella. I think it obviously is a planet that exists right now in Stanton, so we want to read about it. We want to learn about it. But I don't think we need to go through the other 20 short length on this podcast. So stand by on that. We have a couple of days left of Jumptown, so I want to go through. I don't think we spoke about it on the last episode, but I do want to go through the final days of Jumptown. There's been some additions to the pledge store that we want to make sure that we cover. And then we want to end with the Inside Star Citizen dubbed Mission to Make. I need to stop saying dubbed. Titled Mission to Make, where they bring up again the new mission and the new global event. But before we get started, I just want to take a moment to recognize the Harry Potter actor who played Dumbledore, Michael Gambon. He passed away today at the age of 82. And I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan. In fact, I'm one of those who have only seen the movies. I haven't read a single book from Harry Potter, but I'm married to somebody who is deeply in love with Harry Potter. My in-laws are deeply in love with Harry Potter, and I actually enjoy the movies. It's sad, but at the age of 82, I would like to think that that is a long-lived, happy life. But do want to take a moment and just recognize that a major icon in the fantasy world has passed today. Nothing to do with gaming, just wanted to pay homage. Let's get into today's episode. And I'm going to go straight to Chris Roberts' message first. It's out of order. Theoretically, CitizenCon information came out last Friday, but let's cover the Chris Roberts piece first. I think that generates a lot of conversation, and we'll get this started. So I'm going to go ahead and show my screen. And again, I think it worked well last episode. This might be too small for the current setup. Let me just do all a favor and just zoom in a little bit, because I want to give you all the professional courtesy of being able to read yourself if you want to. So here we go. Chris Roberts. All right, so long story short, there was a user who made a comment about quality of life. Evidently, they're well known within the publishers and directors, enough to garner a response from the owner of Robert Space Industries, CIG, Christopher Roberts. So here we go. I just wanted to thank you for your suggestions for quality of life on Star Citizen. Also, your incredibly awesome flying and video capture skills. He goes on praising this individual. Back to your post. Seeing tight, concise, constructive feedback like this is super helpful. I also want you to know that I pay attention to the community's feedback, as well as feedback by various Star Citizen content creators. I hope he listens to this podcast. There we go. This year has been an especially difficult one in terms of stability and quality of life due to the rollout of persistent entity streaming, PES, in 3.18. The whole way we track and record state of the universe changed dramatically, which also changed the way we handle the data in the back end in the cloud. Because of how we record state with PES, we needed to switch to a different kind of backend database. So we moved from a SQL relational database to a graph database. Unfortunately, the graph database we selected, despite being one of the best rated ones and intended for enterprise scale, has had major issues at load, causing the database to lock up and all the queries from the game servers to stall out. This happened on the 3.18 launch, where it took us a lot of effort to stabilize, including some engineering on our side to lessen the load on the database. We thought we had this issue solved, but the most recent version of the database software was a step backwards, and we've had an additional lockup at load, which was what happened for periods on Wednesday just after we launched 3.20, and on Thursday, Friday, and briefly on Saturday. We rolled back to an older version and disabled some of the features last night that we suspect may be contributing to the instability. Ironically, we think the replication to mirror databases for full redundancy is a culprit to the database lockups. This looks to have stabilized things. The backend database getting into a bad state manifests in multiple ways to infinitely spinning inventory windows, missing items, and degraded game performance. We went with an off-the-shelf enterprise-level database for stability and resilience, as there is already a lot of new tech in Star Citizen. So it's frustrating, as the software that should be rock solid is the biggest offender in making the Star Citizen experience even more unreliable. We have the top engineers from the database company working on this, and we are also assessing other databases to switch to if the unreliability of the current solution continues. One way or another, we intend to have this solved in the very near term, and the game coming back to 3.17 stability levels. That's pre-persistent entity streaming. Almost done here. We're also very focused on improving quality of life, both annoying bugs that have been around for way too long and some things that we need to address to make the experience fun and welcoming. Your list is great in this respect, as a lot of your suggestions are on our list as well. We did get some quality of life fixes in the 3.20 patch, like the QT HUD being lined up properly, but not nearly as much as the team or I would like. We will be working on knocking out bugs and improving quality of life pretty continuously from here on out. There's a lot of great tech and features that we are bringing into Star Citizen from Squadron 42 that will dramatically change the feel and polish of Star Citizen. For instance, a lot of your suggestions in-game comfort and readability have already been addressed by the changes we made for Squadron 42. The plan has always been to bring this work into Star Citizen. Squadron 42 was just a good way for us to focus and really polish the feel and usability without the pressure of maintaining functionality as we iterated on it for the always live environment of the PU. We've now hit an inflection point in Squadron 42's development that allows us to start bringing this work into Star Citizen in the near future. Interesting. I wonder what that inflection point is specifically. Back to the article. I am very excited for CitizenCon, as we will be sharing a lot of these features and more. It will be great to be in front of a live crowd and spending time with the community in person. It has been 4 years since the last in-person CitizenCon. So I wanted to read that verbatim. One, again, the owner of this process spoke. We want to listen and give the respect to it. Number two, when I brought up the challenges of 320 on last week's episode, again, I have committed to my listeners and to my viewers to always provide the whole story. If I'm going to come in with a critique, you better believe I'm bringing the solution or whatever CIG has decided to follow up with. This kind of, well, it does. It explains the issues we saw on the initial release of 320. Again, when it launched, I thought it was fine. The servers were fine in my opinion, but that next day through the weekend was rough. That is the why. You now know straight from the horse's mouth exactly what happened. But it also is a beautiful segue into CitizenCon. So, which is our second point of order or agenda item for this podcast. So again, it'll be exciting. So let me just pause. If you're going to CitizenCon, I can't wait to see you there. I will be there. My brother will be there. Some other members of the org will be there. I'm really excited about going to LA October 20th, 21st, I don't know, 22nd. At this point, all the dates are kind of screwed up in my head because of yesterday's debacle, which I'll get into. Here we go. Yeah, the 21st and 22nd. So can't wait to see y'all there. But this does bring up kind of maybe like an emotional response to CitizenCon. But like, what is the agenda? What is the itinerary? It's shocking to me that we're 23 days out. As of the day of recording this, we are 23 days out. That's just over 3 weeks. And we don't have any intel on what is happening for CitizenCon. So again, there you go, a critique, right? But I will follow up with what we did see come out since this past Friday. So I am going to read through the Pocket Guide. I'm going to read through Tyler Wicken's post. Like, I will cover, I'll do my due diligence as a Star Citizen journalist, if you will, podcaster. But again, the emotional response up front, what are we expecting? What did we spend $300 on? Right? For those of us going on the premium ticket and doing the after party, like, there is zero intel on what's happening. So let's just go straight to Friday's post. This is from Tyler Witkin, lead of the community team. Here we go. CitizenCon2953 FAQ. Hi everyone. After 4 long years, it's back. CitizenCon returns live and in person, touching down at the LA Convention Center October 21st and 22nd. This year's show is shaping up to be our biggest yet. Cool, I'd love to see something about it. So we put together a handy pocket guide to help you best prepare for the show. Spoiler alert, there's really no good intel out of the pocket guide. We will go through it quickly. Back to the article. In the weeks ahead, we'll continue to update this page with more details and content, so bookmark the page and keep checking back. This epic 2-day event is more than just a convention. It's a pan-galactic celebration of the vibrant community that breathes life into the Star Citizen universe. A place where we can come together and share the remarkable things we've achieved together, while looking forward to a future brimming with even more amazing adventures. We know you may still have more questions, so we're spinning up this thread to help. Fire away below, and we'll do our best to answer any CitizenCon related questions as they pop up. Quickly, here's the pocket guide. And again, if there's any developers listening, I mean no offense to this, but it's very underwhelming for us to be 3 weeks out. Here we go. Not to repeat, this little blurb that you're seeing on my screen is exactly what Tyler just mentioned on his post. So here we go. Event schedule coming soon. Event map coming soon. The Citizen's Guide to LA. Here's a guide about what to do whenever you're in town. That means nothing if you're not going physically. General FAQ. I don't think anything has changed. Why is the event 2 days this year? Will there be 2 stages similar to previous CitizenCon events? Well, let me just answer the questions as we go. So why is the event 2 days this year? Thanks to community feedback, we've made a number of changes this year. In the past, a 1-day show packed with panels prevented many from being able to get up, enjoy the venue, and properly socialize with friends. Break. It's a very good idea to make it 2 days. It's a very good idea. You want to be able to take breaks and walk around the convention center. You want to see all the things, participate in all the things, community booths, participate in cosplay contests. There's going to be a racing event put on by Atmos Sports, esports. It's going to be fun, exciting. You want it to be 2 days. So success story there. Thanks for listening to the feedback. Will there be 2 stages? This year, we'll have only 1 stage, hosting presentations throughout both events. Following the answer above, we want attendees to be able to enjoy all that the show has to offer. We also have a massive second convention hall space where you can expect plenty of activities and social spaces to enjoy, ranging from community booths, a 1-to-1 rideable Drake Dragonfly replica, which you've probably seen on social media. It's pretty awesome, and so much more. Do you have any details about what the content is, what to expect of content at the convention? To be determined. What should I bring? Bring your printed ticket or a digital copy stored on your mobile device and your photo ID. Will there be any new merchandise? Yes. Can I come in cosplay? Yes. Is there an age restriction for attending? 13 and up. Will seating be available? Yes. I don't know why that merited an FAQ, but yes, seating is available. What are the rules concerning in-house photography? Just like any other convention, there are places you can, places you can't. Don't be a jerk. Please don't. Please don't be that person who should be taking pictures and videoing when they're not supposed to be. Just follow instructions. Will we be able to bring things to give away to other conventions? Yes, but what's interesting is they call out, but stickers and selling goods is strictly prohibited. Stickers? I wonder why stickers, of all things. Like, the first part of this answer is we know many orgs and sub-communities like to hand out goodies that represent their group, but not stickers. I wonder what the reason is for that. I can't make it to LA. Will the event be live streamed? Yes, on twitch.tv/StarCitizen. Am I allowed to rebroadcast CitizenCon? Yes. What time will the VIP after party? Okay, all right, this is great. This is great. What time will the VIP ticket after party start and end? It's going to be at October 22nd, 7 p.m. local time, and continue through 11 p.m. Now, yesterday when the tickets hit, that's not what was reflected. It confused a lot of people. Again, not like major drama, nothing really to, I don't know. It doesn't really merit a segment on a podcast, but it was a kind of a funny moment. They sent out the tickets, and we'll get into the actual article and response here in a second, but they actually sent out the after party ticket for like October 28th, like a week later. Pretty sure no one's going to show up to that, traveling from, Austin, Texas. So anyways, what transportation options are there to get to the VIP after party? Typical like Lyft, Uber. There's obviously public transportation as well. Nothing real exciting there. Is there a minimum age requirement to attend the VIP after party? 13 and up, but if you're going to drink alcohol, 21 years or older. So that's really it. The rest of this, ticket and registration, if you already have tickets, you're good to go. I will say the goodies, the online goodies for those attending in person are available October 13th. Tyler in the next article releases that date, so that's exciting. Physical swag bags, yes. If you bought a ticket for somebody else, they can still attend. But there's not, just to kind of wrap this one up, there's just not anything about the agenda or itinerary or what to expect. And what's interesting, I don't want to harp on this too long. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like, I've already got my tickets. Some of us listening and viewing already have our tickets. Like, we're going to go. We're going to go regardless of the agenda. But like I was telling my brother earlier today, like, I want to get excited about something. Like, I don't know what I'm excited about. I know I'm going to go. Me and a bunch of nerds are going to be watching, videos and talking about Star Citizen for 2 days. Cool. I'm sincerely excited about that. Hell, I have a podcast over this damn game. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. But I'm yearning for that. Like, man, I can't wait to be a part of a Mark Hamill Q&A session. That would be exciting. right? Or one of the voice actors in Squadron 42. Like, that would be exciting. Or, you know, the release of a brand new ship, and those who are physically in attendance or watching, you know, have an access to fly it for free a day. I don't know. I wish there was something for us to get excited about other than just going or watching. So last thing about CitizenCon, let me go back to sharing my screen. So this was the ticket delivery debacle that happened yesterday. Again, kind of funny, maybe, sort of. Just all the dates were wrong. So you got my brother and I experienced completely different dates and times. So you get your premium ticket and you get your after party ticket. That premium ticket can either say Saturday the 21st, or like my brother's says Sunday the 22nd. Okay, so does that mean, like, should I expect 2 premium tickets and then an after party ticket, so 3 tickets, and I just so happened to got Saturday and he got Sunday? Or is it 1 ticket to rule them all? Like, there's so much confusion. But here's straight from Tyler, his response during the debacle. CitizenCon2953 ticket delivery. Hey everyone. We've just begun the rollout process for CitizenCon tickets, which you should find in your registered emails inbox now. If for some reason they haven't arrived yet, fear not, it's a rolling process and they'll show up soon. VIP ticket holders may have noticed an incorrect date on their initial ticket. Yep. This has been fixed. Simply use the link in the email arriving today to download your ticket, which you'll find displays the correct date. Not really. So when they did the update, I got the after party ticket update, so it reflected the correct weekend, but it was for Saturday, when the after party event is on Sunday the 22nd, not Saturday. Back to the article. Lastly, for those wondering when the digital goodies pack will be delivered to your web hangar, we're currently planning to start that distribution process on October 13th. There you go. Stay tuned for more details. As a reminder, we recently published the Pocket Guide. Save it, reference it as we move forward. So there you go, CitizenCon. Not going to belabor it. I'm excited. I am super excited to go. I've attended some conventions in the past, TwitchCon namely, some Comic Cons, not the main one in San Diego, but I'm super excited to see Star Citizen, the game I create content for, on full display. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see the personalities, hear everybody talk about it. And just like with anything else, it's fun to be around like-minded individuals. Different walks of life, you might not get along with everybody, you might not click with everybody, but it's something special. It's almost like going to like a sporting event, go to a baseball game, fans of the same team. I mean, it's just it's an awesome camaraderie, like bonding experience, regardless of the backgrounds. So I'm excited to go. I'm glad my brother's going, some bonding time from a family personal perspective, but in this kind of world of Star Citizen. Super exciting. Moving on to Jumptown. So again, this has been live for about a week now, ever since 320 dropped, essentially, not exactly, but essentially, and we only have like 3 days left. So just very clearly, because I've wanted to start doing this on the podcast, I don't want to guess anymore. So September 21st was 7 days ago, so for a week. September 21st, and it ends October 1st. And let me go and share my screen. There's nothing new from like a visual perspective or an article. It's the same kind of Jumptown experience. I didn't read about anything being new since basically 3.16, patch 3.16. So it's the same Jumptown experience. The dates, of course, are new. So let's do that. Let's look at the dates, and then we'll get into the next segment. So there you go. The Jumptown schedule for 320, like I said, September 21st down to October 1st, and they change every single day. The location changes every single day at 11 a.m. Central. I'm in Austin, Texas. I translate everything to Central. So 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central. What is that? 4 p.m. UTC. But the location changes, which is exciting. It allows you an opportunity to see all of Stanton and experience this PvP, essentially It's essentially a gun rush event, global event, at different places around Stanton. It's exciting. It's a rush. It's a lot of fun to do with a group. I would highly advise doing it with a group, even if that means going into general chat and saying, hey, who wants to fly together on a Redeemer or A2, whatever the ship is. I would recommend trying to do this with somebody else. Doing it by yourself is 9 times out of 10 suicide. Let's get into the ships that are released on the Pledge Store. So there's 12 vehicles like I did for Pirate Week. I'm going to go quickly through these. I might stop to give an impression on something, but here we go. If you have $750, go for the A2. So the A2 Hercules, the Arrow, the Ballista, I don't know, Constellation Andromeda, the Cutlass Black, the Freelancer Miss, the Nova, the Prowler, the Redeemer, the Saber, the Ursa, the Valkyrie. I clearly don't know how to say things. And then back to the A2. There you go. So Jumptown for me, just real talk, just me and you, wherever you are right now. I suck at all things FPS. Like from a PvP perspective, I'm horrible. Like I can't dogfight to save my life. And then when I get on ground, there's something about like the desync. I'm gonna blame it on desync. There you go. I'm blaming it on something else than my capability. But man, I cannot get to Jumptown if I'm going by myself. It's crazy. So I enjoy it when I'm with friends. I'll take a Redeemer out and 5 of us, you know, we'll go and have a, you know, the time of our lives from the org, and it's a good time. But I will not do this by myself. Even if it's like 2 a.m. in the morning and I don't know, I get up early so I can work out, but sometimes I just can't sleep. So I'll get up 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'll jump on with like nobody else on the servers. I still won't do it because my happy ass will die from, I don't know, a change of wind direction. It's sad, guys. It's sad. So as much as I love Jumptown and the concept of Jumptown, it's for somebody else. It ain't for me. And maybe I'll come around to it, but yeah, I'm a better person when I don't try to do Jumptown. Real talk. Okay. All right, we got 2 more segments left. And like I said, somewhat of a quick podcast, but we are going to go through Galactapedia real quick, and then we're going to get into the Inside Star Citizen. So let's get into Galactapedia. And for the next couple of minutes, I'm going to share my screen. And again, I do want to encourage you, if you're listening on podcast, please feel free to go onto YouTube and watch the video. I do share my screen, and I will, I'll go through the star map and show the Galactapedia, which I should have already uploaded that. Let me go ahead and get into the star map. It takes a little bit. Whoa! Wow. How do I turn off? That's gonna sound really funny on podcast. There we go. Goodness, I am so sorry. I'm gonna have to go in and edit that out. So that's another reason why I should have done this before. All right, going back to Galactapedia. This is like my first podcast ever. This is horrible. All right, welcome to this month's Galactapedia Update Roundup. This month we visit the, I don't know, Kaipua and the Luau systems, celebrate the Foundation Festival, board the Pegasus and the Liberator, learn about Rajora, and meet the last Rua Emperor, among others. Join the Spectrum thread for any discussion. I'm going to cough real quick. I made it through like half the podcast without coughing. So it's all hitting at once. This is great. Okay. So we will get into Yella. So let me go ahead and open up that. And then for the other 2 systems, we'll go through the star map. So Yella, I think we all know what Yella is. Like, we've all been to Crusader. We've all, I mean, I almost guarantee all my listeners have been to Grimhex, which is the station that's floating, or that is inside of an asteroid in the asteroid belt of Yella. So this is probably nothing new to anybody, but the lore might be. So let's get into it. Yella is the outermost natural satellite of Crusader, Stanton 2. and is orbited by a ring of asteroids. A thin crust of water ice on the moon's surface is said to represent the cool demeanor of Yela, the oldest sibling in the human children's story, a gift for Baba, after whom the moon was named. Crusader Industries security came under fire during a Senate hearing in Standard Earth Year 2949 for failing to curtail criminal activity in the outpost colloquially known as Jumptown, located inside one of Yela's craters. I need a drink because now my throat's bothering me. I'm just gonna let that burn on the way down. Man, there's something that happened in this transition to the Galactapedia that my body's like falling apart right now. All right, environment. Due to its thin oxygen atmosphere and distance from the system's sun, the surface of Yela is very cold, with average temperatures ranging between -55 degrees Celsius and -10 degrees Celsius. The large water ice sheets that sprawl across the plains and mountains feed the water cycle via sublimation. There are no bodies of liquid water on Yela's surface, nor is there any rainfall, but snow showers, fog, and windstorms can rise when the weather conditions are correct. History. Discovered by nav jumper Toshi Aaron alongside the rest of the Stanton system in 2851, Yela was briefly the sole property of the UEE. During this time, the UEE Navy began to construct a base in the skies of Stanton II. It lightly mined the moons for resources, but largely left them alone. In 2865, driven by a financial crisis, the UEE sold all the planets and moons in the system to various corporations, including Crusader Industries, who purchased the parent planet along with Yela and its sister moons. After refitting the Navy's platforms on the newly renamed planet Crusader for its own use, the company established multiple mining facilities and security outposts across Yela, Selen, and Daymar, and offered some of the land for lease. In spite of the inhospitable environment, some humans have made Yela their home. Wilma Ivory built the first permanent homestead in 2907, where she lived until her death in 2935 from natural causes. In 2909, the first human was born on Yela when Albert and Nora Triolo were forced to make an emergency landing to give birth to their daughter Irma Triolo. Goodness. Outlaw Group Ninetales began using abandoned Navy facilities as bases in 2946, leading to an increase in patrols from Crusader security. Culture. Unregulated ground vehicle racing is a... Okay, first, let me pause. I'm so sorry. This is important. This is why we want to read lore. Earlier today, the astrohistorian, the astropub, Paul Shelley, he was on our podcast several episodes ago, made a very good point. You want to listen to the narrative team. You want to read everything they say. You want to listen to what they say, because the narrative team is brought along the journey. They are brought into conceptual conversations, vision and intent conversations. They're obviously taken throughout the journey so they can participate and understand where it's going and how it's molding. And of course, at the end of the day, they are the ones writing the story of what we're reading and what we're experiencing. So you can kind of pick up on like little hints. You can pick up on maybe some teasers or get an idea of what's coming down the pipeline. I think I agree with Paul when he makes the statement that in this paragraph, it's probably something that the dev team is currently working on. Let's get into it. Culture. Unregulated ground vehicle racing is a popular pastime among residents of and visitors to Yela. Lacadra Walsh organized and won the first recorded ground vehicle race on the moon in 2912. The site of this race was made into a permanent racetrack. A permanent racetrack. Permanent means permanence. A permanent racetrack, and was named Lacadra's Lap in her honor. Many of the racing sites take advantage of Yela's terrain and include large boulders and rocks. In 2917, amateur racer Ethan Hulton died in the Nakamura Valley from injury sustained during a crash while making a tight turn on once such track. Yeah, so a permanent racetrack called the Lacager's Lap. Pretty sure that's going to be a future racetrack down in the pipeline. So I wanted to read Yella for sure. I want to read the full-length article because like that is time and commitment to a story, a narrative, a piece of lore, especially with something that's in existence. The Yella Stanton is in existence. For the next piece, it's going to be important that you do watch this video. I'm going to go ahead and I'm probably going to screw everything up and make this full screen. So I hope this still is a side-by-side in video. I'll edit it if it's not. But here we go. This is the star map. I could spend hours just being in this star map. For those of you who are not familiar, RobertSpatesIndustries.com, that is all things Star Citizen. That is the main website for Star Citizen. They have apps, right? Galactapedia is considered an app. The Star Map is considered an app. And what it is it's a web-based application, but it's an immersive map, an interactable map where you're able to see current and future systems of the game. And so here you go. I'll kind of orient you to what you're looking at, but you're in space right now. It's completely, I'll say three-dimensional. It's, I don't know. At some point, it becomes 4, 5, 6 dimensions. But here you go. It's three-dimensional. You're seeing all the systems. It's a beautiful, gorgeous depiction of the game and where we're headed. The intent is all of these systems exist. Now, whether or not you can go to them and fly to them, and I think that is yet to be debated, but these games will exist, or sorry, the systems will exist in the game, whether it's Star Citizen and or Squadron 42. So, orientation. It starts with the center of the map. You're here in Sol. So the Sol system is where Earth, Mars, Venus, it's our current like Milky Way galaxy, the Sol system, right? Outside of Sol, we have to go to the right, and for the purpose of the next couple of minutes, we're going to say north, south, east, west. Of course, in space, there is no direction, but oriented to the map, let's go to the east. To the east, you're going to find Stanton, right here in the center, and Stanton is where we are currently at. So patch 320 in the persistent universe, you are living and existing in the Stanton system, right? Just to the right of the Sol system. In 4.0, here in the next several months, maybe years, it's all debated, we don't know. But they're talking about playability inside of here, the Pyro system. So you got to go kind of to the southwest to see the Pyro system. So we already hit, obviously here's Sol. To the right, you have Stanton. Southwest of Stanton, you've got Pyro. And then when you start kind of going away or outside of Stanton, you're seeing some very familiar names, right? You're seeing Nyx, NYX, you're seeing Nyx. You see Terra. Terra is like where a lot of the jump points and a lot of the transition is happening. Transportation is happening, right? So you have all these really awesome systems that you've read about. Here's Vega system, super important when it comes to lore, the Crowshaw system. So again, you're going to recognize some of these. The Goss system is huge. Take your time, right? So click into, just for the purpose of this conversation, click into Stanton. It's going to bring up all the planets and the orbital rings and everything. But even before you get there, you can actually, was it right click? Yeah, you can right click on Stanton and you can inspect its size, but more importantly, the information. So the information will pop up this window to the top right. It'll tell you the star system, the size, affiliation, but then it'll give you some lore about the Stanton system. So again, just a really awesome interactable experience for anybody interested in Star Citizen, but of course, for those of you currently playing in Star Citizen. So earlier on social media, this morning, I took this screenshot right here. It's the whole like Stanton and Sol like systems, but it also includes where the Galactapedia addresses. And so I drew little like lines on the directions on each system. But here's the Stanton system. If you go north and to the west, almost to the top of the screen, you're gonna see the Lauo system, Virtus. So this is one of the lore drops. And then if you actually go north of Stanton and then to the east, you're going to see the Kaifa system. So I know the Galactapedia says Kaipua, but it's also known as the Kaifa system. So again, you can right click on both, go to information, and it'll tell you the Lao Virtus system with an expanding red giant at its center. The UEE happily ceded this Perry line system to the Xi'an. Today it is best known for the officially sanctioned piracy that occurs here. Accepting that crime will always exist, the Xi'an Empire authorizes select criminal gangs to operate under certain conditions. That does not mean it is a lawless system. Unauthorized criminals caught operating here will incur the wrath of both the Xi'an government and the system's sanctioned gangs. It's a lot of S's. Let's actually get into the system. And this is where like I just enjoy the hell out of this. First off, beautiful. A gorgeous, gorgeous system. You can kind of see kind of the nebula cloud in the background. But this is a huge one. It's a huge system with a lot of, this is why I'm not reading everything in the Galactapedia update. But there is a lot to discuss here. Jump points. Looks like there's an asteroid belt or two. 4 planets, I believe 4 planets. But you can get into every single one of these and take a look. And it's kind of overwhelming. As you scroll around and as you see me doing this on screen, in the background you can see all of the other systems moving with you. And this is a web-based application. It's one of the best interactable maps outside of a game that I have really ever seen. So I just wanted to show this. It's just a great, great, great image of like what you could potentially expect to see if you're able to fly out to the Xi'an system. Again, just a beautiful depiction. Let's go back and let's take a look at the Kaifa system. As I scroll all the way back out, Kaifa system. Here we go. Control disk, information. Let's read about it. The Kaifa system has gained religious significance in the Xi'an culture as it is often the destination for religious tourists and pilgrims. During the days of the Messer era, Kaifa was one of the more heavily fortified and protected systems, indicating its cultural significance to the Xi'an. Finally, Kaifa's best-known export is the Centennial Bloom, a plant famous for blossoming for only one night every 100 years. There's some lore behind that we've talked about in several other episodes, but it's a pretty cool story. Let's take a look at inside of Kaifa. Beautiful, huge star. A lot smaller, right? Looks like maybe 3 planets. Yep, 3 planets, 2 jump points, one to Horus and one to Rila. But again, you can kind of see what maybe flying around in this system might feel or look like. They also have a diamond planet, and I'm trying to remember which one is the diamond planet. Maybe it's this one. Control disk, information. Ooh, maybe this one? No. I was thinking it was Kaifa too. Maybe not. Now I've got to look. Now I've got to find it. Here we go. Escape, Galactapedia, Diamond Planet. I can't say that. The Ur-Al-Ong Diamond Planet. Just like reading the description. Just sounds amazing. Composed mainly of carbon, it is a terrestrial planet with black, brown, and red-hued atmosphere. The temperatures and pressure of the planet's interior may have caused the formation of abundant diamonds beneath the surface. However, the Xi'an government prohibits mining, so this hypothesis remains unproven. I I don't want to go through every single article, but I think when we get into Galactapedia updates on systems, the planets, how each one is made up, whether it's terraformed or not terraformed, but getting into the star map and physically going to those systems and actually looking at and like hovering the camera around is just next level. It's a next level deep dive into the lore and the universe that you are playing, right? In Stan, or if you're holding out to Squadron 42. Could not encourage doing that enough. Let's get into Inside Star Citizen. This one's a good one, and like I said, it's the namesake of today's episode. It is fun to hear about future missions, but it's even better when you know it's happening, like, I don't know, in the next couple of months. So before like December, before the end of this year, we're more than likely going to see these new missions and global events. So I'm excited for it. One of my favorite ships in the game is the Mercury Star Runner, right? The MSR is a data runner. That's the name of this podcast. It is a data runner. My MSR is called the Breach. I think it's a badass name, but you're able to name your MSR, and mine is the Breach, like you're breaching a data net. So I don't know. I love everything about this. I can't wait to get into it with you. Let me go ahead and fire this up. I learned to not go through YouTube, as last episode we had 2 commercial breaks. So I'm just going to go straight into the video and go from there. Sharing my screen. I hope you all enjoy. I will pause it temporarily for reaction, but here we go.
Missions in video games are more than just a way to tell a story or give a player things to do. They're also a way to drive players to explore areas they might otherwise miss, to encounter aspects of gameplay they might otherwise not attempt. And for developers, they're often a way to push the development of new features, or in the parlance of the mission feature team, new verbs for their systemic mission design system. And one new mission or global event from MFT can lead to 10 others being created by designers on sandbox teams around the world. So on today's show, we're exploring 2 currently being developed, starting with Data Heist.
So Data Heist.
So real quick, some of you might have noticed in the underground facilities, UGFs, in the underground facilities, or also known as bunkers, some of the screens are brand new, and some of them are interactable. I highly hypothesize that this is why.
There's a brand new mission coming to the Star Citizen Persistent Universe. It'll be one of the first missions from the organization of Bit Zero. Bit Zero are an organization of hackers. They're kind of rich kids that have kind of taken on the hobby of hacking and trying to almost being Robin Hood. They want to do things, but again, they're a bunch of rich kids. They don't know, ripping off a merchant for such amount of money is even a big thing for that merchant.
So the player will take the mission, head to the location. In this case, we are using the UGFs. Once you're inside the facility, you'll have to gain access to the mainframe.
Now, you can do that in multiple ways.
So for those of you on podcast, just quickly, if you are in an underground facility or a bunker, obviously you first walk in, you take an elevator down. There's like 2 storage rooms, and so I'm trying to explain this the best way. Sometimes it's on the top level, sometimes it's on the bottom level, but you go through and there's usually like blood on the floor, like it looks like a disaster. There's like a computer, like an office room, but if you continue to go through the office room, you're in like another storage room that doesn't ever really have anything going on. There's an elevator down there, but it's never used. I've never seen enemy come in and out of that elevator, but hopefully that has made sense. That's what you're seeing on screen, you're seeing on YouTube, but for podcasters, that's where they're gonna put the servers that are the base of this whole entire new mission. So I hope that helped. I don't know if I can explain it any better, but watching it obviously on YouTube or on my channel is going to be a lot easier.
We have hacking still in the PU, where you can use a crypto key. And there's also other methods that might be at the location that will help you access those mainframes, but I'll leave that for you to find.
Once you've hacked into there, you then have to allow the hacker into the system. And then from that point on, he will do all of the heavy lifting with the uploading of the data from the servers. But what you have to do is maintain the safety of those servers so that their upload can actually follow through.
We will then start to give you a couple of enemies populating the area because they're responding to, your invasion of their property.
They'll come in and you'll fight them. At the same time, there's going to be the owners of those servers. Although they're not on site, they actually have the ability to remote into their systems, and they're probably not very happy with the idea that you're trying to steal their data.
During the mission, you will find that some of these servers will start to overheat. Now that's because the people that own the location are deciding we can't kick out this hacker from the location, but we can try and either halt you or stop you from getting the data.
They turn off the cooling on these servers. And so when the cooling's turned off, they're basically trying to melt down their servers, destroy the data. So they'd rather have a scenario where they destroy their data than let you have it.
You then have to look around the area, try and solve why they're overheating, and if you can try and stop that. That will be one of the big situations during this mission.
It basically just continues like that. You have a certain amount that you're supposed to have uploaded, and you need to defend them, and then you have to turn them back on, and it just continues like this until you either succeed or you fail.
There is a lot going on in like the video that you just saw, and honestly what they're saying, if you're listening, there's a lot going on. You're not only having to defend the area while the timer is going, right, where you're downloading the server information, but you're also having to make sure that the servers are staying cool. So you're defending, you're maintaining, you're allowing the hacker inside of the server, and I think that's what the timer is, like how long they need in order to access the data. It's kind of chaotic, and I love it. It's like all the things about FPS I think I actually would enjoy, but there's also a flying aspect that they're about to get into. So for me, Data Heist seems like an all-encompassing mission I'm going to completely fall in love with.
Data Heist is a mission for morally grey people. I wouldn't ever say that it was for the good or the bad. In its first implementation, you will be infiltrating security locations, security UGFs. So at this point in time, it is unlawful.
It's a defend a thing mission, but we're adding some more interesting lore and complexity to this mission, where it's not just defending something from taking damage. We're adding this extra layer of gameplay for a player. It's how they can be destroyed. It's adding extra layers. So it's not just a physical destruction. It's also this concept of the data on this server being destroyed. So we wanted to take these two things and have them in one.
My favorite thing about the mission is possibly the things that it could open doorways for. The fact that it's the first mission for the Bit Zero is super exciting for me. I'm a fan of other video games that involve hacking, and having an entire organization revolving hacking is super exciting for me.
The mission feature team's role isn't just to make new missions, it's also to make the tools that content teams will take on and give new life to.
One such way in Data Heist, for example, is a module that's focusing on randomization. They will target a random server in the room just to get you moving around the UGF so that it keeps you on your toes during the mission. But this...
I love that. I love that, because originally, and this is actually kind of a light bulb moment for me. When I first watched this, I basically thought of like, well, you're gonna encamp around the servers and just defend it for X number of minutes, right? But I just now caught this. They're gonna have it all around the UGF, so you're gonna have to actually leave that little room and conduct mission outside outside of the area inside of the UGF. Okay, now I'm even more bought into it. Now I'm even more sold.
This can be utilized by other designers for powering anything to do with randomization as well. So instead of always seeing the spawns from the spawn closets being at the same time, 5 minutes in or anything like that, you could be kept on your toes.
And with a mission like Data Heist, that gives us several new tools in the toolbox.
And in addition to the standard missions that populate the verse, the mission feature team is always examining and reevaluating the global events that run throughout the year. Do they perform the way we intend they should? Not just in frame rate, but also in engagement, enjoyment, enchantment, entertainment. And if they're not, perhaps they need enhancement or extinguishment. And the new global event Blockade Runner hopes to be just a little bit of both.
Blockade Runner actually replaces Ninetales Lockdown. We analyzed Ninetales Lockdown, and we looked at participation in that global event, and we also looked at what players did in it. So participation in Ninetales Lockdown wasn't actually that high.
I'm going to ask this in the polls. So quick little PSA. In Spotify, at the end of every single podcast, I ask a poll. This is going to be today's episode's poll. Did you play Ninetales Lockdown? Are you going to miss it when it's gone? And I'll ask the same on Twitter as well. But participate. Like, I would love to hear what all of you think about Ninetales Lockdown. I don't think I ever did. Like, I know I did Xenothreat. Like, I did Xenothreat for sure. I don't think I ever have done Ninetales Lockdown. Let me think about it while the show gets going.
We realized, like, there's no point maintaining this global event if no one plays it, you know? We looked back at the other ones that we had made, like Xenothreat, and looked at the gameplay in those that players do engage with and they enjoy. And that was the aspect of going on those wrecks in Xenothreat, picking up the crates and delivering them. They enjoy this experience. They enjoy working together as a team to do it. So we thought, what can we do with that and make a new event? Something that players will instantly understand what the event's about. We came up with this idea of Blockade Runner.
Blockade Runner is a new global event that we've been working on. In this event, there's a criminal faction that sets a blockade around some of the space stations in the universe. This makes trade and travel between these stations problematic, and their goal in doing this is to prevent the trade of one specific material that is important for the refinement of spaceship fuel.
The idea is that a player will be called to help deliver a new commodity that is involved in the production of quantum fuel and deliver it from our LEO stations, like Everest Harbor, to its refinery sister stations. And we have to deliver a certain amount of this within a certain narrow amount of time.
This material has a short half-life, so if it's not stored properly at a specific facility, then it will expire and become worthless, and you'll have to try again.
When you arrive at the LEO,
I'm sorry, but that inbound missile sequence, that gives me so much anxiety. And 12 years military, in real life, it shouldn't. But hearing that escalation of an inbound missile, every time I hear that, it bothers me.
There'll be a blockade from criminals, and you will have to get through that blockade, land, buy this commodity as much as you can fit on your ship, then you'll have to take off, and then you'll have to brave the blockade again, and then QT to one of the refineries. On the way, you may be interdicted by more of these criminals who don't want you to get away.
Target destroyed.
And then on the other side, no blockade, but you'll have to get through that. Then you will land, and then you will sell. So there's this delivery loop for players. Not every ship will be best suited for dealing with these guys without, some escorts. So the idea is that players will also take this mission and support those other players in combat ships.
Maybe you delegate one person with the big tanker ship and others to fend off any enemies along the way. At its core, Blockade Runner is a combination of the cargo transport and selling and space combat. One of the things I like most about Star Citizen is the space combat. I've never really been much of an FPS player, but I do like space combat, and one of the big elements of Blockade Runner is space combat. The stakes are higher, so if you screw up, you don't just simply regenerate. You regenerate and have to buy all your cargo again, so watch out for that. As the dev, I've been playing this entirely by myself up till now. We're going to be going through some playtests soon, so we'll be able to experience the mission properly, but thus far I've been playing it solo with a ship that can both fight and transport.
What ship are you?
The Cutlass Black. It's the best ship for everything.
So, what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that missions like data heists don't just give players more ways to play, they also give mission designers more tools to play with. That like every other aspect of Star Citizen, global events are continuously evaluated and refined and occasionally rebuilt and replaced when needed. And that Blockade Runner is just that, meant to replace the former Ninetales lockdown before the end of this year. Now, don't forget that there's just 3 weeks until CitizenCon2953, the now 2-day event emanating from the Los Angeles Convention Center, where you'll get the biggest concentration of Star Citizen info, technology, features, visuals, and more, all beamed into your brains via Twitch. Or if you're there in person, by just following Mark Gibson around all day and asking about his Hercules voice. I can still hear it when I look at the C1. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thank you for letting us share the process of game development with you. And we'll see you all here next week.
And that'll do it for today's episode of Beyond the Verse Star Citizen podcast. It has been a pleasure. I hope this finds everybody well. If you want to become part of the conversation, feel free to email us at contact@beyondtheversehq.com. Respond to our polls that we ask at the end of each episode in Spotify, and we will also put everything into social media as well. And that's all platforms /BTV_cast. Again, I hope this finds everybody well. Safe travels as you traverse beyond the verse. Take care.